The Pelicans finished with the 20th best record in the league, the 9th best record in the West, and the 21st best net rating. The Pels had a terrible start to last season, but definitely got better as the season went on, and even took the best regular season team in the league to 6 games in the first round of the playoffs. With Zion coming back, Ingram looking even better, and the addition of CJ, the Pels are primed to take a big next step. This pick will no doubt contribute to that happening. So, were they likely to select? Well, I've scoured the internet for mock drafts to get information, and selected 4 players I think have a chance to be selected by them, and I'm going to give you some info on them. So, without any further dilly-dallying, let's get into it. Let's start with Benedict Matherin out of Arizona. If you've watched some of my other draft preview vids, you know how I feel about Matherin. He was a really nice shooter during his time in Arizona, his movement off the ball was great, and I think he's a really high level athlete. That profile already should have Pelicans fans excited. The Pels were in the bottom third for 3-pointers attempted, and the bottom 5 for 3-point efficiency. That meant they made the second least amount of threes per game. Put simply, they were a terrible shooting team. Matherin will definitely help remedy that. There is also upside with his defense and ball handling. He has the athletic tools to be good on that end. It will just be a matter of him applying himself more and improving his awareness. There's a good chance that happens though with his lower offensive load he's likely to have. I'm low on his ball handling potential if he ends up at New Orleans, just because they have so many guys who would want to have the ball in their hands ahead of him, that I think he just won't get the reps to develop that side of his game. There's still potential for him to be a solid two-way wing with good athleticism though. The Pels would definitely take that. They do have a lot of talent on the roster, but his shooting should help him see the floor ahead of some other guys. Now let's talk about Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin. If a few things break right for Johnny Davis, I could definitely see him being a very solid to even really good player for a long time. The shot is a concern for some, but it looks good. He shot it well from the line, and he was good in the mid-range. Plus, if Fred Vincent gets his hands on him, it's a wrap. The worries about his athleticism are a bit overblown in my opinion. He's not necessarily a plus athlete, but I don't think he's a bad athlete either. He's never really going to be a primary facilitator, but there's some passing potential there. The physical tools on the defensive end are limited, but he shows great heart and passion, and was pretty productive at the college level as an off-ball defender. The scoring package is where things get really interesting though. He's a sniper from the mid-range and is very crafty and smart with the way he gets his shots. He could definitely add some scoring punch to this Pels team, and with a smaller offensive load to what he had at Wisconsin, I could really see the defense being even more impactful. Moving on, let's talk about AJ Griffin out of Duke. We spoke about the Pelicans shooting woes earlier, and AJ Griffin is another guy who can help with that. Griffin was an elite shooter during his time at Duke. He made shots off the catch and pulling up from pretty much all around the perimeter. He's got a bit of a weird shooting stance, but the shots go in. He should be able to make shots from the jump, and that would be very welcome in New Orleans. He showed flashes of good burst and explosion, but they were few and far between. I suspect that was as the result of past injuries. I mentioned this in my full report on him, but those injuries either held him back from reaching his full potential, or they may end up limiting that potential altogether. Time will tell with that. That is where the upside lies though. Defensively, I like his frame and general strength, but his feet are a bit slow and his hands aren't particularly active. He's going to need to put in some work on that end to ensure he becomes a true two-way wing. If he does though, the Pels should get good production from him for a while. Lastly, let's talk about Keegan Murray out of Iowa. Murray might be one of the safest picks a team can make in this year's draft. He was an elite scorer in the Big Ten last season and put up 2K-esque numbers. I think he can scale back his usage and still be effective because of his ability as a shooter and a cutter, as well as his scoring ability inside of early steals. He shouldn't really be that limited as an offensive player as long as the jumper translates. His low maintenance scoring would be very welcome in New Orleans, where there are, as mentioned earlier, a lot of mouths to feed. The defense is where my evaluation of him differs from the consensus though. I'm definitely higher on his potential on that end. He will struggle when he is switched on to guards and hyper athletic wings, but as a rim protector inside and when he's up against slower wings and bigs, I think he can be really good. I'd be very interested to see if he and Zion could be a viable frontcourt late in games, because if so, that could be lethal.